we are going to have to learn how to live in a society with one another and become more tolerant. We're going to have to learn how to be more tolerant on the regular basis when we learn how to get along better with one another as a society. So we have to learn how to accept what it we have to learn how to accept what is as it is. Too oftentimes we try to change people, we try to change situations that we don't necessarily have the power or ability to change. And sometimes we just have to learn how to accept people and situations for who and what they are. We do not have the power to change people or things. The only thing that we do have the power to change is ourselves. Tolerance does not mean taking crap off of people, but being able to deal with whatever comes your way. You want to be able to deal with situations, with hardships, with trials and tribulations. These things happen to the best of us. You are not the only person who ever ended up in a rough situation. It happens to everybody. I don't care what walk of life you come from, how wealthy your family is, or whatever. Everyone at some point or another in their life has to deal with trials and tribulations. So when those times do come, when you learn how to develop your tolerance, it will not be so bad because you have practiced on learning how to develop more tolerance. So practicing tolerance helps us to empathize with one another, understand one another, feel each other's pain, not necessarily sympathize. You can feel sorry for anyone, but if you understand the hurt and the pain that someone is going through, it will help you build a better tolerance for their situation and what they may be going through. So we have to drop our differences and agree to disagree. We will not always see eye to eye on everything. Yeah.
Don't you think it's more better not to even be involved in situations rather than, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's better not to be involved in situations rather than trying to understand them or try to even get along. I mean, I think it's better, like, if I know I have issues or something in certain places, in certain areas, just not to even deal with it, period.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you know there's something that you know yourself better than anybody else knows. If you know that situation is too much for you, detach yourself from it. Absolutely. Absolutely. You are correct. Yeah, but certain things are unavoidable. I mean, you have your family to deal with. Everybody's family is different. We have to work with one another. We have to learn how to live in this world together. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying, but you can't avoid everything all the time.
You're right.
So sometimes you just have to learn how to work well with others and develop a sense of tolerance. Either way, it is going to be important for you to develop a sense of tolerance. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Because another thing I've realized that, say for example, any situation, once something knows that they got you defeated, or they know that they got something over you that you can't deal with, they already know that they're going to have that power forever.
They only have that power if you give it to them.
They feel though, but that's, you know what I mean? It's like they know they're always going to have the power. It's like that's how they feel.
The only way somebody has power over you if you give them your power. Who said that? Who says that that you are defeated by them? You. I mean, are you? Saying that you are defeated by a certain situation or a certain person, because in your mind you can be undefeated in whatever situation, depending on how you deal with it. You can be undefeated in the situation without even having to tell the person that I'm taking the high road out. You can let them think that they are defeating you in a situation. You don't even have to tell them. That's a way that you can develop a certain sense of tolerance. They can think that they defeat you in a situation, and in all reality, you won. You're on top, and they don't even know it. You know, so when you look back on it, you will respect yourself more as a person. You will have a higher self-esteem and respect the way that you handle the situation or whatever the situation might be. You know, say somebody is enticing you to fight or something, and you walk away. And instead of, you know, standing out in the middle of the street and squaring up, you ain't gotta go to every fight that you invited to. You know, let them jump around and act stupid. You know, you done too old for that. You done been there and done that. We have to learn from our mistakes. And it's not all the time with a certain person defeating you. You can come out better in the situation just in the way that you choose to handle it, by walking away. You can become the winner, because that person can be out there jumping around acting like boo-boo the fool, and they end up in jail or hurt somewhere. So who's really defeated?
Right.
Who really came out on top? The person that learned how to develop more tolerance. You can't stop people from acting a fool. You just ain't got to do it with. You know what I'm saying? Just go
Sister,
ahead.
I didn't land on Plymouth Rock. You know, all right, you cut my mess. You know,
So yeah, we talking about learning how to develop tolerance today. So tolerance can be a spiritual practice. I really do appreciate your input.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Well, you was talking about temperance. Coincidentally,
I'm sorry, say it again.
I said coincidentally, I remember that I was reading in the Bible about temperance, and that's like you were saying, you said something to me. But anyway, to me, temperance is in a situation where, and you might have illustrated this as well, in a situation where somebody plucking your nerves. Like you said, you can choose to walk away.
Right.
And you don't have to return fire for fire. And it's even mentioned in the Bible. I don't know what it's one of the fruits of the Spirit, but it mentions temperance. And I said, what is temperance? And you gave a perfect definition. And I figured. That's all I had to say.
Yes, it's very important. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
because
if
if
that's
you
what
lose
it
your
is.
cool, you're going to do some damage.
I'm telling you.
You're going to suffer the consequences.
Exactly.
But if you keep your cool, don't be a fool. Keep your cool.
Yes, and you don't want to have to deal with the Lord. You know, I was just saying that this morning, you know, we should have a reverence and a fear for God. And too many times people they blasphemize God and they try to mock God. And you know, God is the last being that you want to have to deal with, especially out of disobedience and doing things that you know are immoral and unethical and things that you should not be doing. So I don't think us as human beings have that respectful reverence for our higher power, because we too often take it too lightly, but God will not be mocked. Hey, how y'all doing?
Walk again?
Yeah,
The
all
way we
right
say it's
now.
called his wrath. His wrath is deep.
And it's nothing to be reckoned with.
Mhm.
Yeah. So tolerance can be a spiritual practice. I did come across this during my study, and I am a very spiritual person. I am not a very religious person, because I do believe what we do in our private time with our higher being is much more important than what we do in a public setting or whatever. And a lot of people fancy it up, but they don't have the personal connection with the Holy Spirit the way that they try to make it seem like they do. And I did come across the fact that tolerance is a spiritual practice as well. For example, people of the Islamic religion, tolerance is it's an Islamic principle. So I came across that fact that tolerance is an Islamic principle. I was talking about this morning when I was doing my virtual message when I went overseas and visited We went to Dubai, and then we drove from Dubai to Abu Dhabi and visited the world's largest mosque,
Wow.
where the Muslims gathered to pray, and we walked the path of tolerance. And that was such a spiritual journey for me, and I prayed before I took that trip, and I asked God to not allow me to come back the way that I left. And God really delivered. He changed my entire life even through that experience. And just during this study allowed me to realize how important tolerance is. So it is a spiritual practice. So I actually wrote a book on spirituality and religion. Spirituality and religion is two different things, and people don't really realize that there are many different religions, but there is only one spirit that is holy. There is only one higher being. So I don't care how many names you try to call it or whatever, there is just one. There is only one. I said, wow, even when I was writing my book on spirituality and religion, I said, what if there was as many gods as there are religions? I said, we would be in trouble. We wouldn't know left from right. I thank God that there is only one God. So, I mean, we think it's a mess now. We would be in a mess. We would be hopping on one foot and rolling around and all kinds of stuff, do this, do that. I mean, we wouldn't know left from right if it was as many gods as there is religions. But there is only one higher being. They just try to fancy it up in all different kinds of ways. That is just my personal philosophy on, me giving respect to my higher being. So, for example, an example of tolerance is understanding and accepting the varying opinions in society about religion or in politics. So tolerance also means the ability to endure pain or hardship. So I do have a very powerful testimony. I am a survivor of childhood molestation. This year, Lord willing, in October, I'll be celebrating 10 years clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. I've been divorced, I think, coming up on maybe 4 years now. I was married to the wrong person for almost 10 years. I am a mother of 5 amazing sons and 2 absolutely fantastic daughters. And I just thank God that He placed it in my spirit to do some drastic changes in my life, because it has a direct reflection on the way that my children are. My children are doing amazing today, and I'm so grateful to be able to say that all of them, the majority of my children are adults.
That's wonderful.
But even when I think about my testimony, I thank God for my testimony too. I believe that God chose me. I don't hate the people that abused me or molested me, or I don't hold resentment or anger or unforgiveness in my heart for the things that I had to go through. I thank God for my trials and tribulations just as well as for my blessings, because He chose me for a reason. I tell people all the time, my friend, May 31st next week, a dear friend of mine, her and I, she would have been 43 as well, and she died February of this year. And her testimony was similar to mine. She was molested as a child, and it completely took her mind to the point where it ultimately took her life. So I am grateful to be able to say that I am a survivor of childhood molestation, because some people cannot say they survived some of the things that God has allowed me to survive. And I believe if it wasn't for the hardships that I had to go through, even coming up as a child, I had a very rough beginning, I would not have made it through half the things that I had to make it through in this life. Those things would have taken me under. And today I am very blessed. That is why I can stand before people and give my testimony and tell everyone the things that God has allowed me to make it through. So developing tolerance will help us endure pain and hardships even more, you know, and we don't want to go through pain and hardships, but it's not what you go through, it's how you go through them. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you go through. You know, we're going to lose loved ones. We're going to deal with situations in our health. We're going to come into financial, you know, situations, whatever. It is inevitable. We are going to face trials and tribulations in our life, but how we deal with those things really reveals you to you. It reveals your own character to who you come face to face with who you really are and how strong you really are. You show your own self, your own weaknesses when you go through these trials and tribulations. Let's see how you gonna handle this. You know, so learning how to develop a sense of tolerance will help you get through the trials and tribulations of life. That is just how it goes. You don't want to be someone who don't know how to deal with situations that happen in life. You know, like sometimes life, it doesn't get easier. You get better.
That's all.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, it ain't like, you know, we ask God to change our situation.
You did that one right on there.
Yeah, like it's not going to necessarily get easier. You just have to get better. And I'm telling you, I said it a million times before and I'll say it again. When you get better, your life gets better. Did you want to say something? Yeah, absolutely.
I love the way you speak. And
Thank you.
It's really feeding my soul and my spirit.
Oh.
Because, like you were saying, I think you mentioned temperance and tolerance. They go hand in hand, I think. But there have been times, I'm sure, that everybody's got where it seems dark and you feel like you're not going to crawl up out of that pit. But if you had the Lord on your side, you got a mighty warrior for you.
Listen.
And I had a nervous breakdown. But God brought me back
Wow.
to my right mind, you know. And I just give him glory. And I thank God for your teachers because they're parallel with the Bible. And I don't know whether everybody believes in the Bible, but I do it. As long as you're talking right, I'm all right.
I love the word of God. I really do.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had to say something because it was so good. Because I said, Lord, if you can't do it, nobody can. I was just down and out. I said, oh, but he brought me out here to the sunshine.
Yeah. You know where your blessings come from?
Yeah.
Yes. So to tolerate someone, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So to tolerate someone in today's society means not only to bear with them with patience and respect, but to affirm, accept, and even tolerate values and choices that may be irreconcilable with one's own. So you might not always agree with the way that people live their life or the decisions that they make, and too often times we can be judgmental.
Yes.
We can be very judgmental just because someone else lives their life in a way that we don't necessarily live our life, and who are we to judge?
We're nobody to judge.
Exactly.
Because
We
the
not-
Bible said, judge not, that you be not judged.
That's right.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, but I mean, like, what made we think that someone else's sins and mistakes are worse than ours? It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, whose scale are we using here? Like, what are we measuring by? Because the same thing that you say can cast me down to hell can cast you down to hell too. You know, so too often time we just have to agree that we don't see things eye to eye. No, I may not do that,
Forget about
but
it.
don't mean I ain't do nothing.
And pray on it.
Yeah, because we all done did something and still out here doing something. So, you know, we just, you know, even though we might not disagree, and it helps us, yeah, right. Mr. Innocent over here talking about not me.
I work for mine.
Yeah, we all do, but I mean, most of us do anyway, but nobody is perfect. We all fall short of the glory of God.
That's true. You took that thought right out of my mouth.
Yes.
The same thing.
Yep. So tolerance is dealing with one another. Tolerance is being able to deal with one another's ups and downs without being distracted from our main purpose. We have a job to do. As long as God wake you up every day on the regular basis, He has you here on this earth for a purpose, and you have a job to do. So we can't allow ourselves to be distracted by petty differences, because then you won't fulfill your purpose and you will never make it to your destiny. And too often times we can let the smallest things distract us. Racism and sexuality and all these kind of things. You don't make as much money as I make, or you don't look as good as I look, and all that kind of stuff. So what? We are all human beings, and we all have to live on this one earth together. Unless you got another earth that the fancy people go to. I mean, it's the only one that I know of. You know, so we might as well learn how to tolerate each other and get along better with each other. You don't want petty things to distract you from your main purpose on this earth. So tolerance is necessary to collaborate well with others. Tolerance is necessary for living a happy life. The more we do something, the more tolerance we get for it. So tolerance is built over time, and tolerance is a good virtue, but some may think of it as a weakness. Everyone needs to learn to develop tolerance. So I did write down a quote. I love writing down quotes from established and successful people. I do this all the time. I wrote down one quote that really stood out to me by a man. His name is Mr. Stan Lee. He is an American comic book writer, an editor, a publisher, and a producer who actually I think produced Marvel movies, maybe Spider-Man or something like that. I know he became very famous. He started off small and became very big over the years. So this is what Mr. Stan Lee said. He said, if man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance. Those are not my words. That is the words of a very successful man, Mr. Stan Lee said. I'm going to say this again.
I was going to say that.
Yes. If man is ever to be worthy of his destiny, we must fill our hearts with tolerance. So, you know, and we have to, who does not want to fulfill their destiny? I know I do. I want to live out my purpose of why God created me in the first place. He know why he created me. He know what he had in mind when he put me here on this earth. I don't quite know yet, but I want to fulfill my destiny. And too often times people leave this earth with having no clue of why they were ever here on this earth. But if you were born into this world, you were born with a purpose. You were born with a destiny in mind. You have something to do. You have somewhere to go. And we all should want to fulfill our destiny. So I'm going to wrap it up with my affirmations. I always tell everyone, keep the affirmations, write them down, repeat these things to yourself on the regular basis. I affirm positivity over myself on the regular basis. People like Oprah Winfrey, very famous people, always talk about how affirming positivity over themselves played a major role in their success and where they are in life right now. Anyone can speak positivity over you, but if you don't learn how to speak positivity into yourself, you will not believe it. You will not be convinced of your own greatness if you do not learn how to affirm these things for yourself. So today's affirmations is, I am getting better with each new day. And I want you to believe that in your heart. Think about where you came from and how far God has allowed you to get to this very day. You are getting better. I'm not telling you to say something that is not true about yourself. If you made it this far, you made it this far for a reason. He ain't bring you this far just to bring you this far. He wants you this far to take you even further. So I am getting better with each new day. Repeat that to yourself every time you look in the mirror. Tell yourself, I am better today than I was yesterday, because you are. And you're going to be even better tomorrow. So say this to yourself as well and do this for yourself. Convince yourself. Don't just affirm Don't just say these things to yourself. I want you to say it in your mind, say it out of your mouth, and say it in your heart.
My Lord.
Feel it within your spirit. Say, I am growing. I am learning. I am better. Affirm these things to yourself. Write them down. Keep them. Say them all day. When you look at yourself, say that to yourself. When you have time to think about your life and just a moment of reflection, think about how much you have grown, how much you are continuing to grow, and how better you are becoming on the regular basis. So affirmations are very important. I'm so glad I was able to get you this message on tolerance. I feel as though it is very important to learn how to develop tolerance. I am a person who has had very little tolerance, and I'm just realizing the importance of tolerance and learning how to incorporate tolerance in my life on the regular basis.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. I gotta get Mama home.
Very important. So thank you all for sitting in for another one of my messages. God bless.